Another round of applause for the Ghetto Classics. Thank you, guys. You are fantastic. Before I invite His Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, to speak, allow me just to inform us that at the end of his speech, we will have another ceremony outside KICC, or rather outside this hall, where His Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, will be flagging off a group of motorcycle riders known as Around Africa Motorcyclists, who are on a 5-month cycling marathon around the continent, reaching the 4 corners of our continent with the message of Kenya's peace and Kenya's contribution to diplomacy. And so please do join us at the end of the remarks by the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Allow me then to request all of us to be upstanding so that we can invite His Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs to address us. Let's put our hands together for him.
Thank you. Please be seated. Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, High Commissioners, and Heads of Missions, my colleagues in government, our esteemed diplomats, both Kenyan and those serving in Kenya. The Principal Secretary is present, captains of industry, friends of Kenya, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is still good morning, so hamujambo. Good morning to all of you. Perhaps before I really go forward with my statement, if you do not mind, I would request, as a sign of recognition, if you could all stand so that we can appreciate your presence with us today. Thank you very much for being partners of the people of Kenya. Asante sana. Let me first thank all of you for joining us today to mark this historic occasion, 60 years of Kenya's diplomatic journey. Your presence here today is testament to your appreciation of the role of diplomacy in shaping our nation's destiny and our daily lives. Looking back into our diplomatic history, we see a journey marked by resilience, foresight, and unity of purpose. Since independence, Kenya has pursued a pragmatic foreign policy characterized by a blend of continuity and strategic adaptation. With successive leadership demonstrating diplomatic wisdom by carefully balancing our national interests with prevailing geopolitical realities and our responsibilities as a member of the international community. Reflecting on our diplomatic journey, from the humble beginnings in 1963, when Kenya had only 6 missions abroad, today, we have 70 missions worldwide, a significant expansion that reflects our growing influence and the strategic importance of international engagements. Similarly, we have achieved tremendous milestones since the time we served as a logistical hub during World War II to today becoming a core state in the region. Kenya's role as a diplomatic hub is now well established. We facilitate 109 resident diplomatic missions and host 148 intergovernmental and international organizations. Since 1972, when the United Nations General Assembly officially adopted Nairobi as the global headquarters of the United Nations Environmental Programme, UNEP, Kenya has remained steadfast in promoting environmental diplomacy. In fact, our first president, Jomo Kenyatta, inaugurated UNEP's headquarters here at the KICC on 2nd October 1973. Additionally, Nairobi is today home to the United Nations office at Nairobi, Union, and we're happy we have the top leadership here, which is the third largest UN Secretariat duty station after New York and Geneva. It serves as the only headquarters in Africa and the Global South. Kenya has also fortified its position as a leader and active contributor to regional integration through its membership to the East African Community, COMESA, and the African Continental Free Trade Area. We will leverage our strategic position as a regional hub to advance economic and commercial diplomacy, focusing on key sectors such as technology, agriculture, manufacturing, and tourism, aimed at creating job opportunities and drive sustainable development for all Kenyans. Nairobi has also emerged as a key financial hub in the region owing to the strategic location, backed by a strong banking and financial services sector, vibrant stock exchange, well-established infrastructure, diverse economy, and well-educated and skilled human resource. Kenya hosts regional offices of the African Development Bank, the IMF, and the World Bank's largest station outside Washington. We continue to enjoy warm diplomatic ties with many bilateral and multilateral development partners, ranging from Europe to the Americas, Asia and Pacific, Middle East, and to our continent in Africa. Just to emphasize a little more, Kenya's financial network now has a total of 552 branches in the whole of East Africa. Basically, it's the largest financial infrastructure that the region has. That is, Kenyan banks have spread out a footprint of 552 branches. Correspondingly, Nairobi also serves as the regional media hub and is home to many international media outlets. This robust media presence is a reflection of Kenya's promotion of freedom of the press and growing partnerships with the media in our country's foreign policy agenda. This is interesting for you because sometimes we are criticized that as Kenya, why did we allow people to speak about issues while in Kenya? Our Constitution guarantees freedom of expression. In fact, perhaps the biggest recipient of criticism from the media is actually Kenya itself. The president is always receiving a fair share of the pounding from the media, but one thing is clear: we have to protect the freedom of the media as part of our foreign policy. Remarkably, today's celebration is a culmination of a diplomatic journey that has progressively enhanced inclusiveness, cooperation, partnerships, and shared goals with a range of non-state actors, including the private sector, civil society organizations, the youth, women, faith-based organizations, among others. We continue to uphold the core principles of our foreign policy, among them Pan-Africanism, regionalism, humanitarianism, good neighborliness, and non-interference. Accordingly, Kenya remains a champion of African affairs and is committed to African Union's Agenda 2063 and collective security solutions. Over decades, Kenya has maintained its impeccable record in humanitarian support, including refugee welfare, peace, and security initiatives regionally and globally. Indeed, Kenya's commitment to strengthen this leadership role is demonstrated by its candidature for the African Union Commission chairperson. Kenya has fronted one of its sons, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, as the country's candidate. We thank the Honorable Raila for graciously, and I think he'll be here in a short while, joining us in this historic celebration of our 60 years diplomatic journey. As the African Union candidates' public debate, dubbed Mujadala Africaneers, having been scheduled for 13th December 2024 at the AU headquarters, we wish the Honorable Raila the very best. We have no doubt that his Pan-African credentials and leadership experience will immensely contribute to the continent's shared prosperity and champion the causes of peace, unity, and development across Africa and beyond. Our national values are the bedrock of our value system in diplomatic engagements. These include patriotism, good governance, a corruption-free foreign policy, a commitment to human rights, and rejection of human trafficking, money laundering, and other forms of transnational organized crime. A notable climax of today's events is the launch of Kenya's Foreign Policy 2024, which we have done, and it shall also be made available to you all, which is the outcome of extensive stakeholder engagement on the review of the 2014 Foreign Policy document. The revised policy document is a bold, people-centered, and forward-looking framework designed to address contemporary global dynamics in a rapidly mutating global environment. Certainly, challenges such as climate change, global health crisis, digital transformation, and evolving geopolitical dynamics will continue to shape our posture, calling for a more adaptive and strategic approach. Today, I am honored and indeed delighted to represent His Excellency President William Ruto in launching the reviewed Kenya Foreign Policy, a document that reflects the evolving priorities of our nation as we prepare with optimism for the opportunities and challenges of the next 60 years and beyond. To ensure broad stakeholder reach, we undertake to translate the policy into Kiswahili and embark on a nationwide public awareness campaign dubbed Foreign Policy Mashinani. This is a policy of the Republic of Kenya, and we endeavor to have every citizen engage with it and contribute to strengthening our foreign policy objectives. The foreign policy will also be taken to Parliament in the form of a sessional paper. This will definitely further enrich our policy through the people's representatives. Our next couple of days will host a series of events, and I will repeat them because the PS had outlined them, but there's no harm in a bit of repetition, that highlight Kenya's diplomatic achievements and aspirations. And these events will be as follows. We have exhibitions. There's a tent, a big one out there, running from today to Wednesday. There will be the intergenerational dialogue later this afternoon. Tomorrow we have a tree planting session, as well as private sector dialogue. On Wednesday, we shall also have the Diaspora Day, where Madam Rosalind Jogu will be leading us. And you may not have seen the diaspora policy here because it was launched earlier, but she'll also be making it available. We then have the diplomatic conference, and on Friday, as Singoi said, we shall unveil the photo gallery and launch the Foreign Service Academy as a state agency at Uhuru Gardens. We will then conclude on Saturday, and I would like to call those of you who are agile and flexible to join us in a high-altitude run at the Great Chepsaita Cross Country in Eldoret. We have launched the documents, the foreign policy. In it, we also have the ministry's protocol manual, and there's also an attached ICT policy. I would like to applaud our Foreign Service officers and government colleagues who have contributed to the admirable trajectory of Kenya's diplomatic journey in the past 60 years. I am also impressed by the contributions of our young Foreign Service staff to the events that have been lined up in our celebrations. Before I conclude, may I pay tribute to former Foreign Affairs ministers and staff on whose shoulders we are standing to continue advancing our foreign policy. I believe I'm the Foreign Minister number 25. But there have been some giants ahead of me. Let me just name a few. These include our founding father, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. When he was Prime Minister, the Foreign Office was literally in his docket at the very early days. So he really is our first Foreign Minister. We've had Joseph Murumbi, James Nyamoya, Agwin Skothek, Mbiyu Koinange, Njoroge Mongai, Munyo Wayaki, Dr. Robert Ouko, Elijah Mwangale, to name but a few. They'll be in the document that you'll see, but I'm at 25. Kenya's diplomatic journey is a story of hope, resilience, and vision. As we celebrate this journey, let us remember to honor the legacy of those who paved the way and reaffirm our dedication to creating a brighter tomorrow. Together, we will shape a future that honors our past while embracing the limitless possibilities ahead. Before I leave the podium, let me recognize the very eminent persons who are honored today. It was indeed touching. If I may just start with Madam Bethwel Kiplagat. When I was a secondary school student, perhaps in Form 1, Form 2, in Nairobi School, formerly the Prince of Wales, and the Master of Ceremony is an old Cambrian as well. We call ourselves old Cambrians. In the chapel of Nairobi School, a frequent visitor to give the Sunday sermon was the late Bethwel Kiplagat. When we were students, he would walk in and he would give the sermon to us in Nairobi School. And he would always walk in with Madame there. To give us the service and the sermon, and also to mentor us in many different ways. So, Madame, I know you have always regarded me as one of your sons. I hope the young man next to you does not feel too bad about it. Thank you so much for being here with us. Today, as we stand here, I saw the General Opande, and earlier on, before I came into this into this hall, I made a call to Namibia, where they have just concluded their elections, and I spoke to Madam Nandi Ndaitwo. She has just been elected as the president of Namibia. They're just waiting for the results, but she's way ahead. And I'm happy that when we were there, the General Opande, the good man there, his name is a household name in Namibia because he led the peacekeeping force in Namibia and helped to train and bring up their military. So it is a great day that you are here, us recognizing you, and the country that you played a very big role in has just elected, if I'm not wrong, the second woman president in Africa. We were with Mutaura in Arusha, celebrating the 25th anniversary of the East African Community. He was the founding Secretary General. And little did we know that the heads of state would, on the 25th anniversary, nominate President William Ruto to chair the East African Community for the next 1 year. So, a great coincidence. Gentlemen, ladies, walk with us as we move into the future. And finally, to the team at Foreign Affairs, Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, keep doing that wonderful job. We have to answer a fundamental question. The young people, while raising their voices in June this year, asked the question, why does a president travel? Why does President Ruto travel? It occurred to us that in most countries, we make foreign policy foreign to the citizens of our countries. Let us collectively reverse that position by making sure that foreign policy goes to mashinani and people appreciate what you do. Thank you, God bless you all, and asante sana.
Round of applause to His Excellency, the PCS. Your Excellency, we request you that we kindly step back to the podium. We are going to have a photo session with the two exposures. Kindly request the PCS, all principal secretaries present, kindly. Let's head to the podium for a photo session. The DG, we have the Dean of Diplomatic Corps as well. Let us step up for a photo session. And the first exposure, we are going to have the committee in charge of the Kenya at 20. Committee in charge, Kenya at 60 rather. Committee in charge of Kenya at 60 to join so that we have this first exposure. Committee in charge to join this first team. So the first exposure, we are having the committee in charge of Kenya at 60, all the principal secretaries present, the Dean of Diplomatic Corps, the DG, and all principal secretaries present. Thank you. That is our first exposure. We could have you at the back so that we flank the first line. Thank you. The next exposure, we will request the Committee of Kenya Foreign Affairs Policy also to join. Thank you. The Committee on Kenya Foreign Affairs Policy, kindly join. Committee, the Committee on Kenya Foreign Affairs Policy, let's join. And that will be our last exposure. As we are preparing for the national anthem as well. Thank you. We'll request the rest of us to move. We allow His Excellency the PCS to remain at the podium so as to receive the national anthem. Then after this, after the national anthem, you're going to walk out for the PCS to flag off the motorcyclist. Okay, we are guided that we are going to have the vote of thanks by the PS Diaspora First. Thank you for the guidance. Kindly let's have our seats first. Thank you. Welcome, madam.
I will not keep you long. Your Excellency, Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretary and CS for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Cabinet Secretaries present, Principal Secretaries, my brother P.S. Singoe, my sister P.S. Aurelia, distinguished members of the Diplomatic Corps, senior government officials, and our own team from the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, distinguished members of the diaspora, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished awardees, good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's my pleasure really to move this vote of thanks as we mark this significant milestone in which we celebrate 60 years of Kenya's diplomatic journey. I'm honored to stand here in this important moment when we get to say that at 60 years, this is what Kenya had done. I look forward, if should Christ tarry, to see what the people who stand here in 40 years will be able to say this is what Kenya has done in 100 years. In the journey that we have witnessed on the various videos and testimonials, it's been exciting to see how we began from humble beginnings and what Kenya has become and what we posture. I want to thank His Excellency the President for his visionary leadership that has contributed to deepening Kenya's diplomatic ties around the world, and for his leadership and contributions specifically around the areas of regional and global peace and security, diaspora engagement, climate change, smart agriculture, people-to-people interactions, the creative economy and innovation, enhancement of culture and heritage, and so on. He really is diplomat #1 and has led well, and it's easy for us to follow behind him. I want to thank you, Prime Cabinet Secretary, for your leadership of this ministry that has elevated not just this ministry, but what this country is doing in the world. Waziri, you have been a stable and visionary leader, but you also take your time and you support those of us who serve under you, and you coach well, and we are grateful to serve under you. I want to thank our brothers and sisters in the diplomatic corps who are represented here, who have been Kenya's partners over the years. I want in a very special way to thank our ambassadors and foreign service officers serving abroad who really are the hands and feet of our foreign policy. In a special way, I want to thank Kenya's diaspora, who are our quotidian civilian ambassadors who fly the flag of Kenya in every country, even beyond where we have our 66 missions. Ladies and gentlemen, our ministry is really a facilitating ministry. So I want to thank the work that the other ministries, departments, and agencies who partner with us to push forward the government agenda. I want to thank you for your journey with us. Lastly, our dedicated staff at the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs and the staff at the Parliamentary Affairs, to thank you for the work that you do in the execution of our mission, which is to project, promote, and protect Kenya's interests and image globally through innovative diplomacy, while championing the rights and welfare of Kenyans abroad and mainstreaming them into national development. We celebrate this moment, and I want to thank you once again, ladies, gentlemen, distinguished guests, for coming, for attending this event, but also for working with us in placing Kenya, or in putting Kenya where it currently is. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, and at this juncture, I'll request that we be upstanding for the national anthem. And after this, His Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, will proceed to flag off the motorcyclist. The rest of us are invited for a cup of tea to the left, and also the diplomatic corps are invited to pick the books from this end. The national anthem, please. His Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, will now proceed to flag off the motorcyclists, and thereafter will proceed to tour the exhibition at the other end. Thank you so much, and welcome. The diplomats, kindly let's join the Prime Cabinet Secretary in flagging off of the motorcyclists.
Committee. This is the committee of the second committee of the United Nations. Then one of the days we arranged for the committee to meet here in Nairobi. And in New York, when I was ambassador, I was also chairman of Natural Resources Committee. This is a big committee of second committee of the United Nations. Then one of the days we arranged for the committee to meet here in Nairobi. And then United Nations organization, the committee, decided to try to get somebody to do the job of all carrier. They got an American who had been doing the same job in California, and he was posted to Nairobi. And then he began working on all carrier. Now all carrier is a big electrical plant. That was the first thing we did. Because I was chairman of National Committee on Natural Resources, the officer who was in charge asked me, what can we do for you in your country? I said, let's try all carrier. And